Let's find out. Are crows OP?
Pretty lost. They just don't know it. Hit him from behind.
But attack!
Stop looking at me. Attack! Save it for the enemy. We've lost control of the command post.
Primates are notorious for their incredibly broken intelligence stat, which grants them access to incredible advanced techniques such as tool use, coordinated team strategies, and even bartering and trade. But primates are not the only faction in the game with a high intelligence stat. Cetacean, cephalopod, and birdmates also commonly opt not to spec into powerful damage-dealing abilities, and instead invest into leveling up their brain power skill tree. While this does seem like a risky choice, leaving the player more vulnerable in direct 1v1 combat, in actuality this often results in a much less risky playthrough, as the player's intelligence opens up more options for them to progress that don't require winning in combat. This is especially true of the bird faction, as their ability to fly already allows them to quickly escape most unfavorable combat
Sapling, is that the response to finding out birds are OP?
encounters. Today, we're going to discuss one of the two main intelligence-centered bird builds, the faction that contains crows, ravens, and magpies, the corvid.
The corvid!
This video is going to focus mostly on crows as an example, but generally what I say in this video should apply to most corvids.
Sapling's a corvid. She's a plant corvid.
First, let's discuss their stats,
Look how pretty. Look how pretty. I love crows.
as well as the abilities and strategies that exemplify them. We'll begin with their stealth stat, which corvids aren't particularly excellent in. The most popular corvid skins are either jet black or piebald, neither of which grant the user that strong of a stealth bonus. In fact, in snowy areas, jet black feathers are actually one of the least effective choices when trying to remain hidden. A dark appearance is most effective as camouflage at night, but crows and other corvids are not nocturnal builds, so they aren't really
Why are crows black if they're not nocturnal? That is so strange.
gaining this benefit from it. Now, granted, stealth typically isn't all that important for birds, given how agile and vigilant they are. Plenty of other high-tier avian builds, like for example parrots, are arguably some of the least stealthy birds in the game, and they do just fine. You could even argue that corvids are even less stealthy than their black feathers initially appear, as their iridescence actually makes them even easier to see for certain other players.
They are so shiny too. Also, parrots are so adorable. Have you guys seen those videos where parrots just like mimic you? It's so cute. Birds are so adorable.
The other birds. Ultimately, I think it's safe to say stealth is not an important part of their game plan. At least nowhere near as important as it is for ambush predator builds, like an owl. The main predators a crow needs to worry about are raptors. And because of the raptor's keen eyesight ability, it's unlikely having a higher stealth stat would make much of a difference anyway. The crow's defense and constitution stats are fairly average for a bird, which is to say not great. Birds have hollow bones and their feathers offer fairly little in terms of defense.
Oh no!
Feathers do absorb some blunt force damage, but when it comes to slashing and piercing damage, it's nearly useless. And because of their hollow bones, which make them more vulnerable to blunt force damage, the benefit there kind of cancels out as well. Snakes,
Sapling, you're hollow inside.
cats, raccoons, raptors, and dogs all have a high chance of taking a crow out in one hit, so they cannot let their guard down when interacting with any damage dealer builds. Given that their playstyle necessitates taking some risk, crow players definitely wish they had more room for error. Thankfully, their next stat makes it pretty easy to avoid damage.
We're not hollow inside. We have dense bones. We're human. If you're hollow inside, you have osteoporosis.
The crow's mobility is a little above average for a mid-sized bird, which is to say, excellent. Birds in general are just extremely agile, both on the ground and in the air.
Look at that.
Making them extremely hard to land an attack on if they see you coming. Some bird builds, like geese and junglefowl, require significant startup in order to get airborne.
Oh my god, guys, you gotta fill your heart with pizza. Fill your heart with the beautiful sandwich that is pizza.
Meaning that they can't rely on their flight to escape danger if the danger is already right in front of them.
Oh no!
Crows are not one of these bird builds, and in contrast, the startup on their flight move has some shockingly broken frame data. and allows them to quickly and easily reposition themselves
look
in
at that go.
basically any direction in 3D space almost instantly. This makes their ability to dodge attacks one of the best in the entire game, and makes what would normally be fairly dangerous positions, such as right next to a powerful predator, quite safe as long as the Corvid doesn't use any laggy moves. This synergizes well with the Corvid's combat
You just don't want to lag, Corvid. Don't lag.
moveset, as we'll discuss in a moment. Corvids are blessed with many high stats, but power is not one of them. Their ability to deal damage is one of the weakest in their weight class, as their only attack option is a simple pecking strike.
Peck, peck, peck.
This move has quick startup and very little end lag, but its damage is egregiously low. Simply attacking with this move will deal minimal damage to anything larger than an insect. Most players will be able to ignore this attack's damage. However, this doesn't mean a crow's attacks are useless. It just means they've got to be clever about how they use them. A well-placed peck can provoke an attack, and if you're able to move out of the way quick enough, the enraged player will end up being forced to lash out at whoever just happens to be nearby, and create an opening for the Corvid player to capture.
Yeah, because they thought it was the other guy that was attacking him. Oh my god.
An objective, steal some loot, or escape trouble. It might seem like a jank strategy, but really this is the bread and butter of Corvid gameplay, and can lead to massive swings in advantage. The chance to afflict the enraged status effect scales with the user's intelligence stat, so the reason this strategy works so well is that the Corvid's intelligence stat is ridiculously high for a non-primate build. Corvids are tied with parrots for the highest intelligence stat in the entire avian faction. And in addition to enabling the goading strike move,
Did you know that crows hold grudges? They can remember your face, and if you treated them poorly, they will hold grudges, and they will remember you.
said, having high intelligence grants Corvids access to a lot of other powerful techniques too, including the ability to use tools. Tool use is one of the most notoriously powerful abilities in the entire game, and in crows this is no less true.
They were my favorite too. Right, Sapling? Corvids are the best.
By using hook-shaped wooden sticks, crows can score kills on grubs that are normally safe from everything except for woodpecker attacks. And given how many expensive niche perks woodpeckers need to spec into in order to perform these sorts of drilling attacks, the ability to bypass all of that investment while still gaining the same rewards is a
Corvids are great. They're so smart and so cute, and if you befriend a Corvid, they will love you.
huge boon to the crows. But high intelligence has far more benefits than just allowing crows to copy the success of hyper-specialized builds. Arguably the most
Harry
important
never
benefit
forgets.
is team
She
tactics.
does, however, forget. Crahaha. Head pats.
This is what allows baboons to fight off lions, what allows ants to bring down tarantulas, and what allows wolves to prey upon bison. When crows work together, they can capture territory and control points of interest that they'd otherwise be helpless to defend.
Yeah, they're a team player.
They can even rescue each other from what would otherwise be guaranteed lethal attacks, using a tactic called mobbing. Mobbing
Look
is
at
a
that.
strategy most commonly seen in birds, consisting of bombarding a single target with a barrage of both physical and sonic attacks. On their own, these would be easy to shrug off, but when you're getting pecked at and screeched at from all directions at once, it inflicts heavy physical and psychic damage. This is what allows social corvids, like magpies and crows, to successfully chase away predators several times their size. Ravens, on the other hand, tend
That's
not
you.
to really need the help, as they're large enough to handle
Yeah, saplings. Ow! I think I got hiccups, guys. Saplings are a lot bigger and stronger.
most opponents one-on-one, but can still team up in order to lock down a good source of carry-on. Alternatively, they may even ally themselves with wolf players, leading them to a carcass and letting them do the work fighting off their competition before sharing in the rewards. Anyway, that
I have hiccups. I have hiccups. You gotta scare me, guys. You gotta scare the hiccups away. Ow, it hurts. That wasn't that scary.
That's a basic overview of the Corvid build. Now let's talk about their matchups. The Corvid matchup chart is heavily
Ow! That hurts so much. It hurts in my soul. It hurts in my soul. It like aches into my... Do you know the hiccup technique where you hold your breath and then as soon as you need to breathe, you inhale water? Okay, we're gonna try that. Ah! It's not going away. It's not going away. It's still here. I need to drown it away. I can't force a burp. I'm not able to self burp. Ow, that hurt me in the soul. Okay. I think they're gone. I think I made them go. Also, rar. It's me, Gramelia. I think I overpowered the burps. I conquered the burp boss. Let's continue.
Really dependent on how effective their goading strike and mobbing techniques are against a given target. Luckily, because of how high the Corvid's intelligence stat is, the list of targets goading strike works against is quite long. It is best against builds with lower intelligence stats. Things like vultures, things like reptiles, and things like rodents. What's more, this technique
Also, I didn't know vultures were so dumb. I didn't know vultures were like dummies.
even works on one of the Corvid's two primary threats, feline builds. Deadly as cats are, they're often quite reactive and easily aggroed, so Goading Strike is the perfect tool to redirect their ferocity. This move is admittedly less effective against the Corvid's other main concern, raptors. However, thankfully the mobbing technique is quite effective against raptors, so for both of their main threats, the Crow players have options. The only builds these techniques aren't that effective against are other high intelligence builds, such as monkeys and parrots. Because of their extremely strong social bonding and top-tier intelligence stat, parrots are highly resistant to psychic damage and do not turn on each other easily. In fact, when pestered by a Corvid, they are likely to defend each other fiercely using their own, more powerful beaks and louder shrieks. One-on-one, they're fairly evenly matched, so it tends to just come down to size. But in groups, Corvids tend to have difficulty forcing parrots away from an objective. As for monkeys, their higher HP allows them to more easily ignore the pecking attacks of a crow, and they're used to getting their tails tugged all the time by their own party members, so a crow doing it is unlikely to provoke a punishable response. Crows and parrots have an interesting dynamic. I've said in previous videos that I believe parrots to be the more viable build. They have higher dexterity with their beaks, their sonic shriek attack is incredibly effective, they're more social, and arguably more intelligent even. And yet, of the two most intelligent bird builds, there's no denying that in the city biome, Corvids are much more successful. I think the reason for this is that even though parrots are indeed more powerful on their own, and are better at using most tools than crows are, crows are better at using the most important tools, other players. From provoking attacks and redirecting aggression, to using passing vehicles to deal damage for them and unlock high-value loot, Corvids are the best of the best when it comes to using other build strengths to cover
It did. It's still the swan baby.
for their own shortcomings. And if the human build's dominance is any indication, co-opting the strengths of less intelligent builds is one of the strongest strategies you can possibly execute in the game. And it's for this reason that Corvids sit proudly in S tier.
S tier!
Speaking of builds with a high success rate within the city biome,
I love Corvids. They're so cute.